And it is live at 9 on a Friday morning in Jasper, Alabama. James Phillips here on WJLX. And this morning I got special guest, Will Grice. Will Grice is the field representative for Congressman Robert Aderholt's office. And Will, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
We can get right into it and kind of talk about what is the field representative? What is that role for Congressman Aderholt?
Yeah, so basically every member of Congress has kind of two different sects of staff. You got the folks in D.C., they help with forming, policy, legislation, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got the district staff. So each member of Congress has different offices spread throughout the district. Congressman Aderholt has one here in Jasper. And so as a district field representative, I work out of one of those offices. In my case, the one here in Jasper. We've got one in Gunnersville and Coleman and up in the Shoals as well. But basically, we're here to help the community, help the constituents to communicate their opinions that they want to share with the congressman, and also to help with any problems they're having with the federal government. So we work a lot of Social Security cases, Veterans Affairs cases, things like that. Anybody who's having a hard time with some federal agency, we can help with that. We can't necessarily make them decide a different way than you want them to, but
Right.
We can make sure that your case doesn't get kind of stuck in the pipeline, making sure that they're processing it, in a timely manner and giving it all the consideration that it needs.
Right. Now, and you're a Jasper guy. You grew up in Jasper, and
I did. Grew up here, graduated from Walker High School back in 2003. Spent a little bit of time in North Alabama, about 15, 20 years, somewhere in there. And man, I'm just blown. When I came back, I was just blown away. Like, I remember when I was in high school, we thought we were doing good to get a hot dog place downtown.
Right,
Main
yeah.
Street hot dog. But I mean, it's just blown up. Like,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of stuff down there now. It's awesome.
oh yeah. Like you came back right at the right time. Everything
Yeah.
everything was booming when you got back.
Right, exactly.
Talk a little bit about your history in politics. I know that you were a political science major at Alabama, and kind of always wanted to go in something in that direction. So this is almost like a dream job for you.
Oh, absolutely it is. Even in high school, I was the dorky kid who went to youth legislature and model senate and all those kind of things. Just loved it, loved keeping up with the news. Went down to Alabama, studied political science. Got involved with the campus ministry when I was down there, and so really felt a call, a pull kind of in that direction. And so for a little over 10 years, I was a youth pastor up in North Alabama, and this is kind of bringing everything full circle, I think, is I'm finally getting back to where I started with, the political arena. We don't necessarily make a lot of policy, or the district staff doesn't, as far as stuff like that, but just being involved in the process has been awesome. It's
Right.
been great.
Yeah. What is it about politics that it's always kind of stood out to you?
I don't know, to be honest with you. It's always piqued my interest.
Yeah.
It's something that I would come home and watch either Fox News or CNN, or like back in those days, they were probably a little bit more alike than they were different.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just always fascinated me. Going to D.C. in 8th grade was a big thing. It was right after Congressman Aderholt had gotten elected, actually, and he met us and took us to the speaker's balcony. Of course, took a picture. The 8th grade group picture with him, I've actually got on the wall in my office, which is pretty
that's
cool.
really cool. Yeah.
But just seeing everything, seeing the monuments, seeing how everything works, it's always just fascinated me. It's something that I've always thought was super interesting, something that I've always kind of been compelled to participate in some way. Getting to go to D.C. here in just a couple days, and man, I'm just excited. I genuinely, I could sit there and probably just watch the House for hours, even though nothing's going on.
Yeah.
I can't explain why, but it's always been something that has really gotten and kept my attention.
Well,
So,
and just the little bit that I've gotten to know you over the last several years, I know you're also very community driven.
yes,
And that's one thing that I think this role is allowing you to do too, is to be able to speak with the local political officials, local government officials, and be able to help bridge that gap between here and DC.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's probably the part of the job that I enjoy the most is working with mayors, city councils, superintendents, police chiefs. You know, there's a lot of federal money out there. There's a lot of federal programs out there. And so meeting with the local folks, getting to understand what they're trying to accomplish, where they're trying to go, and then figuring out how our office can help them do that. There's probably a lot of stuff, you know, in the various communities that, you know, are happening, that are being built, that have some kind of federal tie-in. And so I'm there to kind of bridge that gap, like you said, and figure out if there's any way we can help or we can't. Now, some stuff, you know, a lot of people say, hey, can you fix my road?
Right.
Well, you know, unfortunately, that's one of the few things that has no federal tie-in. Like, we give money to the federal government gives money to the state distributes that out. So we don't do roads, but just about anything else, you know, there's a way that we can help.
Well, and I know one of the big things that that would be coming up now, if the budget passes and everything, would be the money going to the Heman Drummond Center. Like, that would be a huge thing for our area.
Correct. And that's one of the things it's a little bit different in the House and the Senate. People have different opinions on it. They used to call it earmarks. I think now the correct term is community funding project. So they haven't passed a budget in a couple of years. They're continuing. They've just basically been passing CRs, which are continuing resolutions that just keep the government going as if they had passed a budget with whatever they passed the year before.
Right.
And so we're still operating under a 2024 budget that was passed under the Biden administration. And so hopefully they're going to be passing a new budget for fiscal year 2026. Now, the deadline is September the 30th. I don't think anybody thinks they're going to make that, but they'll probably pass a continuing resolution till like November, December, hopefully get it passed. So in the budget process, Congressman Aderholt is actually on the Appropriations Committee. So they're the ones who decide how to spend, you know, all the money.
Right.
Now, the vast majority of federal money is taken up with entitlements, like money that doesn't have to be budgeted. I know there's a word for it that I can't think of right now.
Right.
Mandatory spending, stuff that it's just programs that they set up, you know, your Social Security, all that kind of stuff that just automatically we spend money on it. Congress doesn't have to reauthorize it every year.
Right.
Then there's the discretionary side, which is your things like the Defense Department, the State Department. And also in the mix there is these projects for local communities. So this past time around, each member of Congress got 15 asks, if you will. And basically what the community funding projects do is there's just a line in the federal budget that says, hey, we're going to allocate this money to this thing in this place.
Right.
Now, a lot of folks, you know, and Congressman Aderholt agrees that, you know, spending's out of control and we need to do something about our debt. These projects take up like 0.07% of the total federal spending. It's
Right.
not, in the big picture, it's not a lot, but, you know, the way Congressman Aderholt looks at it is we're sending our money to D.C. He's going to do everything he can to make sure that money comes back to us.
Right.
And so you have grants, like I said, that's a slightly different process. But yeah, if we pass the budget here for fiscal year 26, there's a good bit of money, about $56 million, that's going to be coming back to the 4th District and helping things like the Heman Drummond Center.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the money, no matter what people think, the money's going to go somewhere. And,
Exactly.
I'd sure like it to come to Jasper, Alabama, before it went somewhere else.
Right.
You know? And having a congressman who's been in office as long as Representative Aderholt has been there, and him being on such important committees like the Appropriations Committee, that's nothing but helpful for us. You know?
Yeah. Well, and his district is really unique, I would say, as well. Like his is the one district that doesn't have just like a major city in it. So a lot of times when you think about money coming to Alabama, it's going to Birmingham or Huntsville or Mobile or Montgomery,
Right.
you know, big areas. But his district being so rural, he's really, really passionate about local communities, smaller communities such as Jasper, being able that they get their share as well, and that it doesn't all just kind of gets consumed by the big metropolises, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, he like his district, he's got Jasper, Coleman may be the biggest city. He's got a little bit up in the Shoals area, goes over to Gunnersville. So, like I said, he's got some decent-sized cities, but none of the big cities. And so, like I said, he really likes being able to bring back money to the small towns in Alabama.
Well, and now, do you cover the entire district with your position?
No. So, like I said, we've got an office up in the Shoals, we've got an office in Coleman, and then an office in Gunnersville. Now, it used to be in Gadsden, but then they changed the district, and that office wasn't in the district anymore.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now we've just opened an office in Gunnersville. So I cover Walker, Fayette, Lamar, Marion, and kind of fill in Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
So everybody that has my job, they've kind of got their area that they cover,
Yeah.
and focus on that because it is a big widespread.
Yeah, I was going to say
district.
that's still a wide area there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And what has been your, I don't know, maybe biggest surprise? You've only been in the position since August, I think it is, or
Yeah, I started around the beginning of July.
Yeah.
So I'm fairly new. I tell you, I feel like I know a lot about history. I mean, I love history. If you look at my YouTube history or my YouTube, list of what I've watched,
right.
it's all history stuff.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Dan Snow and history. Like, I love history. Back during the August recess, we did some pinning ceremonies for Vietnam veterans. Okay, now, like I said, I think I know a decent amount about the Vietnam era, but doing those ceremonies, I had no idea.
Oh yeah, I
Like-
bet it's incredibly eye-opening.
Well, and so we back in the early 2000s, Congress passed a bill to allocate money for, and any member of Congress can do this. I know Congressman Strong has done it. Congressman Aderholt, like I said, this past August did a couple, but to produce pins for our Vietnam era veterans, just that say, a grateful nation thanks you.
Right.
And they stand up, the congressman pins it on them, and they get a certificate, get their picture made. So we had, it was probably about 300. We did two of them. It was probably about 300 plus veterans who responded and wanted to come do this. We had to change one of the locations where we were doing it because the response was so overwhelming. The place we originally thought wasn't going to be big enough, so we ended up having to move it to UNA.
Right.
So you do the ceremony. There's a ton of people there. They've got their family there. The congressman's there. And basically the way it worked was, because we were trying to figure out how to get their names called out right, because they call out their name, step up, get the pin. Do we try to get them set in alphabetical order so we can just go off a list? Well, that's not going to work. People are going to move around. And so what we came up with is everybody, when they checked in, they just got a card. It had their name, what branch of the service they were in, and their hometown. And so my job was to take the card from the veterans, when they came up to the front, and hand it to the guy who was announcing. So I got to meet and interact with every single veteran that came through.
Wow.
The number of them who said, "This is the first time anybody has said thank you," absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah.
I grew up in an era, Desert Storm, and then, of course, Afghanistan, Iraq. We celebrate the troops, but, these are folks who were forced to go over there in a lot of situations. They were yanked out of school, out of work. they were made to go over there. And I mean, we all know, the hellish nature of the Vietnam War. And then they came back, and not only did people not say thank you, they treated them very
Yeah, I was
bad.
going to say, we just downright treated them awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just getting to have a better understanding for what happened during that era, it's been the most meaningful thing to me so far, the most eye-opening thing, and something that I'm just so thankful that I was able to be a part of.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really came in at a good time for something like that.
Right.
That would be very moving just to be able to reach out and say hello to that many veterans that sacrificed what they did.
Right. Well, and the camaraderie too was so neat. I mean, they're not all in great health. Some of them have mobility issues and things like that. But I mean, they were making sure that, they got each other up there, and there was a lot of joking, and you could just tell like they all shared something inside that they knew nobody else understood, but the other people gathered in the room did.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. That's a cool story. What have you had a chance to take a trip to DC yet? I know you said you're about to.
Yes. So I am going Sunday, leaving out Sunday. One of the other things that we can help with, speaking of like local officials and stuff like that, there's this thing called the Congressional Research Service. It's basically a team of researchers who do nothing but research for Congress. They help, when people are trying to consider legislation, figure out what they think of legislation. The Congressional Research Service helps with that, and they're wonderful. They're nonpartisan. They put together some amazing things. One of the cool things is here on the district level, we also get to utilize them. So if you've got a mayor, for instance, that's wanting to expand a road, like do sidewalks or create recreational trails or something like that, we can lean on the Congressional Research Service to help us figure out what funding opportunities may be out there for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure local officials have other questions, and maybe they don't have the resources to really investigate. So that's one of the things that we can help with. So I say that to say I'm going up for a Congressional Research Service seminar, and I'll be there. The seminar is the 29th and the 30th. So if the government shuts down, I'll be up there. If it doesn't, you're welcome.
Right.
I'm going to take full credit for it.
Yeah, it'll be all you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe you can make sure that they keep going.
Right.
Want to remind everybody, I've got Will Grice in studio this morning. He's the district field representative for Congressman Robert Aderholt's office. This is Live at 9 on WJLX. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to talk to Will, and we'll talk some things about what all the office does and how it can help local constituents and the priority that they put on helping constituents. I think that'd be a good thing to talk about when we get back. So we'll be right back here on Live at 9 with James Phillips. Oh, we had something going on there. I think I had a button not mashed right, but Woody was giving me. Now he's got me thumbs up. I saw him in the background behind you. But we were saying that you're gonna handle everything. Everybody's getting along. There'll be a budget. Probably no wars for the rest of time.
Correct. Right. I will accomplish that in the 4 days I'm going to be there.
I know you'll have that big impact. So
right.
We don't, no pressure.
Right.
Now, one of the things before we got on the air this morning, we were talking about, and I had mentioned to you that over the years, with my career in newspapers and just things that have happened, I've had to contact Robert Aderholt's office many times for different things. And while most people in Jasper probably realize that me and Robert Aderholt don't agree all the time on politics, his office has always been great to respond, always reach out, and they've always been great to let people in our area know what he's doing, what's going on. And you said that that's really a priority for him as far as just reaching out to his constituents.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a big part of my job, is kind of bridging the gap to make sure he knows what his constituents, are thinking or feeling. But also, I mean, the federal government is a massive, inefficient bureaucracy.
Exactly.
And so anything that we can do to help people with that is something that the congressman is very passionate about. I mean, every congressional office does constituent services. I've never worked in them. I can't speak to how big of a priority it is for other members, but I know with Congressman Aderholt in our office, it is like the top priority. If you call the office, we may not answer. There's only a couple of us in there, and sometimes we're out doing other things. If you leave a message, you're going to get a call back.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're complaining about a vote or needing help with the Veterans Administration. The congressman is very, very, very adamant about making sure we do a good job with that. And he's genuinely a guy who likes to be around his constituents. Like, if you got a group that's going to D.C., you can call our office. We can set up a Capitol tour. If he's available, there's a good chance he's going to give the tour to you.
Right.
He just loves being around people, even people he disagrees with. One of the things that I think is neat sometimes, so he puts out a newsletter. If you go to aderholt.house.gov, you can sign up for the newsletter. Like you said, it'll let you know what is going on in Congress with the congressman. But occasionally, if there's a big vote coming up, they'll send out a survey like,
right,
hey, tell me what you think about this. How do you want me to vote on this?
Right.
And so every time you call the office and, register an opinion or something like that, it gets sent up to the D.C. office. Every time you're going to get a response back, whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email, or it's a letter.
Yeah.
And a
lot of times it might be 2 or 3 of those things. I know there's been many times that I've called and left a message, and I'll get a call back, I'll get an email, and it really is that's been something that I've been very impressed with as far as the office goes.
And especially when it comes to federal agencies and stuff. Like I said, if you're with doing something with the Veterans Administration, trying to get a claim approved or something like that. I mean, it's the executive branch. We can't force them to, decide something in your favor, but we can definitely make sure they know somebody's watching and make sure that they do it in the right way and in a timely manner. And, if any federal agency, if we can help you, we want to help you.
Right.
And we're going to follow up until, the problem is resolved one way or the other to make sure that your government is serving you the way that it's supposed to.
What are some of the key things people should call about?
Biggest thing is federal agencies. Like I said, we have a process for opinions. If you have an opinion, you want him to vote a certain way, you're upset because he voted a certain way. I mean, I would prefer if you were nice, polite.
Right.
But, even if you're not.
Keep the cuss words to a minimum,
right.
At least. Yeah.
But even if you're not, that still gets sent up to D.C. and considered and responded to. But the biggest thing that we help with, like I said, is federal agencies. And it's kind of crazy when you sit back and think about how much involvement the federal government has in your life. whether the biggest things are going to be Social Security and the Veterans Administration. But I mean, we've even had people call about like they're on a cruise in the Mediterranean and they lost their passport.
Oh, yeah.
We can help with that. It's not easy, but we got them a new passport, in a very impressively short amount of time.
That's good to know if I ever am on a cruise in the Mediterranean and I lose my passport. I probably would have not had a clue who I should call. But,
Right. Right. And so anything, like I said, that involves the federal government, we can help with. Now, there's other things that are more state issues that, we don't really have anything to do with. But, we can sometimes pass stuff along to the people. Here recently, we've had a lot of folks calling about food stamps being stolen by people up in like New York and Philadelphia and stuff like that. Now, that's a federally funded program, but it's administered by the state. And so while we can't really do anything about that, we can pass that along to the folks in Montgomery and let them know what's going on.
Right.
So sometimes even if it's not a strictly federal issue, we can help. And like I said, we want to. That's what we're here for, is to serve the constituents of the 4th District.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what are, my last question was, what are some things people should call about? Mm-hmm. What are some things people shouldn't call about? Because I'm sure you get plenty of those.
So whether it's calls or just me with my family,
right.
The biggest thing I hear is, hey, can you fix my road?
Right.
Unfortunately, the federal government does give road money to the state. We have no say in how that's divvied out.
Right.
Unless it's associated with something federal. Like we were able to help with some roads in Winston County only because they service the national forest.
Right.
So if you're, on the edge of a national forest, okay, maybe we can help. But as far as roads go, unfortunately, that's not something we can help with. And I mean, personal legal issues, something may be very frustrating, but, we can't give legal advice.
Right.
We can't refer to anybody, if State Farm isn't, or I probably shouldn't say that, if your insurance company isn't paying out like you think it should, unfortunately, that's not something we can help with.
Right.
We'll listen, we'll be sympathetic, we'll wish you the best.
Yeah.
But, that's not something that we can really get involved with.
I think that happens with a lot of positions. Like even when I was in the newspaper, I would have people call and they would want legal advice, or they would be like, what should I do if somebody did this? Or would you put this in the paper? And I'm like, no, the thing you need to do is call an attorney.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so I'm sure with it being the federal government, they definitely would call and say, hey, what should I do about these people?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And so no neighbor squabbles or anything like that shouldn't be called into the congressman's office.
Like I said, we'll listen compassionately, but at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
And we've had those. So.
Right. That's funny. What are some of the things that you hope to do in this position? Like what's some of the plans for the future, I guess? Yeah.
So, like I said, fairly new, getting to see, and people kind of complain when Congress isn't in DC working. There's actually a lot that happens when they're not in DC in session. Like the August recess is the biggest one. That's the opportunity for Congressman Aderholt to be here, meeting his constituents, taking meetings. And that's something else that genuinely surprised me. Like before I took this job, I assumed if you wanted to get 15 minutes with a member of Congress, you're going to have to write a big check to somebody.
Right, yeah.
But, we have people call. If you want to meet with the congressman, we can accommodate that. Now, it may be 2 weeks from now. It may be 6 months from now, just depending on his schedule and when he's actually in Jasper.
Right.
He takes the time to actually meet with people and listen to their concerns, and there's no real qualifications on that. So getting to see what the August recess was like and what it's like when he's in the district, I think has been great. So I'm looking forward to more of that. But also just, living here in Jasper, I've gotten to know a lot of the elected officials, the, folks who are about to come into office, who are in office. I've kind of worked my way into Fayette County a little bit. And so kind of next up for me is going to be Lamar, Marion, and just getting around, meeting the mayors, meeting the county commissioners, and getting to know what they want to do for their local communities and figuring out how we can help. And I mean, of course, folks here in Jasper, like I said, we're here to help them as well. But I've met the folks in Jasper. I haven't met all the other folks yet. So.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said, it's a big area to get out and to be able to meet. And when you think about every small town that has a municipality and every county, that's a lot of people to get to know and to find out what their concerns are.
It is. And, some of them have different concerns, but a lot of them also have the same concerns. And, when you have a lot of people with the same concerns, sometimes you're able to kind of, build a network or community where people can come together and address those.
Right. And if they can get in your ear, you can get in Congressman Aderholt's ear sometimes.
Exactly.
Now, you said you've gotten to spend a little bit of FaceTime with him just in the short time you've been on the job. How has that been?
Yeah, he is the most calm, laid-back, down-to-earth person. Like, he, like sometimes we have people call and they're very upset about something, a vote that he's taken. And, just like having met the guy, like, it's just like you're way off base. Like, he's none of these things that you think he is. Like,
right.
He's generally a good guy from a small town. He's from Haleville, for folks who don't know. And, he's just a good guy.
Right.
Like, that's and people kept telling me that. And I was like, okay, well, yeah. But no, he's genuinely like just a good guy. He does normal things. Like, I got an email a couple weeks ago, or a text message, because when he's out and about, sometimes most of the time people come with a problem, and, that gets passed along to us. So I got a text message that said, hey, the congressman was at a singing this Sunday, and in Winfield, I think it was, and he goes to singings?
Right.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, he's just man of faith, absolutely. And like I said, just a good-hearted person who genuinely, and I've got to see him interact with a lot of people. Like, he genuinely likes people.
Yeah.
He likes interacting with people. Even if it's people who disagree with him, he just likes being around people.
Right. Well, and I think that's what we need more of in Washington, D.C., is people who you don't have to agree on everything. You just have to treat each other with kindness and be civil. And I think a lot more things can get done,
You're right. And thinking about that, like, one of the things, like, even before I came to work for him, like, I've never seen a video of Congressman Aderholt, like, yelling and screaming at a committee hearing about anything. Like, he's more of a be respectful, just put your head down, get the work done.
Right.
And I think that's great.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes, too, to the type of person that he is.
Yeah.
Anything else you think we should share with the constituents that we haven't talked about?
Can give you our phone number, 205-221-2310. Like I said, there's two of us in the office, and sometimes we are out, in Fayette, Lamar, other areas, or this area. But I guarantee you this, if you leave us a message, you'll get a call back, usually within 24 hours. Usually it's within 12 hours, but definitely within 24 hours. And if we can help in any way, we absolutely will.
So if I call about 3 o'clock this afternoon, you'll call me about 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, if you want to. At least.
Maybe the next morning. We'll
maybe 8 the next morning. Yeah. So somewhere around there.
Yeah. Good luck next week in Washington, D.C. I know you're going to get all of our problems handled while you're there.
Right.
But you will be there learning a lot about the position and how to help our local folks with the things that they need in D.C. So that'll be good. Well, be safe while you're up there, and thanks for joining us today. And we'll definitely want to have you back throughout the time, when things are coming up, and maybe you can get Congressman Aderholt to come in on the show one day. That'd be a lot of fun to be able to sit down and talk to him one day.
Yeah, we can do our best.
All right. Well, Will, thanks for joining us. And guys, thanks for listening this week on Live at 9 with James Phillips. We'll be back on Monday. Don't forget tonight, we've got football on the air. It'll be myself and Woody Wilson We've got the Jasper Vikings hosting the Dora Bulldogs in a big county rivalry. I talked with both coaches last night, and everybody's excited for that. Cannot wait to see Dora and Jasper tonight. And then we'll have a full slate of guests next week here on Live at 9. We appreciate you guys listening. Until next week, be kind this weekend and love, and we'll see you coming up on Live at 9 on WJLX.
Awesome. Do you do this?